It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you suddenly have all the answers.
Oh, for sure, we don't have the answers, but that you should be comfortable with by now
Yeah,
is
isn't that one of the
you,
questions?
you know shit. You
Yeah.
know absolutely
But
nothing.
who was it? Nietzsche? Was like, what's the all I know is that I know nothing, or was it one of the philosophers?
I don't know who said
Maybe
that.
it was a Socrates or one of those. All I know is that I know nothing. I feel like it might
Yeah,
have been in
yeah.
the Stoics.
It sounds very stoic thing
Yeah.
to. I'm sure we can find that out. Who said all I know is that I know nothing? Socrates.
There you go.
I know that I know. Oh wait, hang on. Um, yeah, it's based on a statement in Plato's Apology.
Okay.
Socrates was born a long time ago. Anyway, so Socrates. Oh my word! If you read a little bit further, then apparently he didn't quite say that. It's good
It's a nice
enough.
little quote to use anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how does that tie in with what we're talking about today?
So, are we talking about wisdom and mentorship? Is that the section we're on in Save
Let's give it a
Wisdom?
go. It's maybe a very short conversation.
That's okay. They don't all need to be 45
Yes, yes,
minutes.
yes, yes.
Okay. So, you said you looked at the first question and thought that it looked interesting. So, question
Yeah. So
771.
correct. Do you want to read the
Yeah.
question?
What paradoxes or mysteries around life continue to challenge your insight and perspective? All of them.
Hmm.
It's an
Yes.
easy answer. Everything.
Everything. Um, so one of the paradoxes or mysteries is that really challenge my insight and perspective is the thing about um, are we the only living beings in the universe?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'd like to believe that we're not,
Yeah.
but then, you know, why haven't we learned anything? Why have we not seen anything concrete? Um, if we look at some of the more the ancient stuff, you know, obviously the pyramids, the what is the place in Turkey, Göbekli Tepe or something like that,
Don't know.
which it's quite an interesting one to look. It's phenomenal. It's the spelling is quite. Oh, let me see if I can quickly find that. Um, Gobleki. Göbekli. If you just go Gobleki, it will bring up the. So Göbekli Tepe is is a site that was discovered in southeastern Turkey, I think. Yeah,
Hmm.
50 kilometers east of Kars at the Armenian border.
Yeah.
Anyway, a very well preserved site. Um,
I've never even come across this before. Crazy.
you haven't.
No.
So,
But it's a bit like the Mayan ruins or the Aztec ruins or. Yeah.
correct. So, so anyway, so uh, there's a lot of people that obviously speculate about those things about ancient civilizations, etc., etc., and then they were wiped out. And because if you look at the dates that they ascribe to these sites that they uncover, feels like okay, cool. There was it's like massive cataclysmic events that happened, and kind of like the reset button was
Mm-hmm.
pressed and we started over again. So anyway, the for me, the idea that we are the smartest beings in the universe, um, I think that would be a massive disappointment.
Yeah.
But if they have visited us, and if they are visiting us, you know, how come we don't know about it? I don't get. I don't buy that. There's a massive um,
Cover up.
um, cover up,
Mm.
by all governments and etc. etc. If you look at things like the UFO sightings and so on, I mean, why would UFO sightings all happen in North America, or
On some farm
99% of them?
in in the
Anyway,
Bundoos, yeah.
yeah, but so that is one for me. Do you have
Well, just one that I've always thought about is the whole concept of what happens when you die, what happens to people when they die, what happens to their souls, what happens to everything about them. Uh, it's just one of those things which I'm comfortable with not having the answer to, but it's something I think about fairly frequently. Is it really that there's just nothingness, or is there something, or does your soul transcend, or I don't know.
hmm? Yeah, look, that is obviously something that there are so many versions
Mm-hmm.
of what happens, and depending on where you were born, and what kind of education you have, that can vary greatly.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the meat puppets?
No. Is this a band?
Yes, it's a
Okay.
punk band.
Okay. I think you might have mentioned them to me before. It sounds familiar.
Um, yeah, they were. So Nirvana made actually a couple of songs. They covered a couple of Meat Puppet songs.
Mm-hmm.
Lake of Fire. So if you quickly get the lyrics to Lake of Fire by the Meat Puppets, you,
Got
you'll
nothing.
see why that is relevant. Where do bad folks go when they die? They don't go to heaven where the angels fly. They go
Mm.
to a lake of fire and fry, and you'll see them again on the 4th of July. Anyway, I
Yeah.
can't help that these things just pop up in my head.
Yeah. But
But yeah, that's obviously one way, if all is revealed,
because you get
it'll be
these like
interesting.
you get sorry, I'm just picking up my pen. You get like these people who die and come back, and medically die or whatever, and then say they saw something, or
Mm,
so you get like these little snippets of people saying that they have an idea of what might happen after they die. But and there are people who, I mean, have seen ghosts or apparitions or have felt
mm.
presences, or I don't know, just could be interesting to know.
It would be interesting to know, yeah.
But we never will until we die.
Correct. Oh, my goodness. Um,
That was just question one. We've got
that was just question one. Yeah, I was wondering if I wanted to add another one about question one, but let's skip ahead and get to these are difficult questions.
yeah. How has recognizing the limits of your knowledge cultivated humility and curiosity? Well, I think, I mean, we were kind of skirting around it there in that question, is that there's certain things that we just will never have the answers to, and you just have to be able to accept that.
Yeah, look, and it's just something that I feel like I've been blessed with is to have this curiosity. for as long as I can remember, in terms of, not necessarily knowing how everything works,
Mm-hmm.
not delving into the finest detail, etc., but to wonder about these things and to find out enough to satisfy that curiosity. And sometimes it obviously takes a bit longer or a bit more, um, to get to that point where I feel like, okay, cool, I have an idea or I have an opinion about that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's something that is actually just, I don't know, it's just come natural to me.
Yeah.
Um, at the limit, the limit of my knowledge, I I do not think of myself as very knowledgeable, which maybe helps as well.
Mm-hmm.
Have you got anything specific, where you feel like it's cultivated humility and curiosity?
I can't think of a specific one, but just as I said before, in terms of like accepting that I'm never gonna know, I'm never gonna get the answers to all the questions that I'm curious about. Um, that doesn't mean that you stop looking for answers or like seeking some
Yes.
kind of, but being comfortable that you may never get them. Which for a
Yeah,
control
yeah.
freak like me is quite difficult.
So why would you describe yourself as a control freak?
mm, I just don't like my outcomes being in someone else's hands. Like I like to have the steering wheel.
But but aren't your outcomes largely in someone else's hands?
Yeah, always.
All your
It's
outcomes.
yeah. So I suppose that's where like chronic anxiety.
Or
um,
acceptance.
yeah,
Or acceptance.
acceptance.
Uh,
Um, yeah.
Look, I think if you ask most people, would they prefer that they, um, are in control of the steering wheel of life
Mm,
versus, hey, I'm happy to just stand here in the middle of the road and hope not to get hit by a truck. Um, the people would go with, I'd like to be in control. I'd like to be in
yeah.
control. Um, so I don't think that that's too out of the ordinary.
Yeah. So here's a hypothetical, not on the question
Yeah.
sheet, but that I just considered. I've heard it come up a few times before. If you knew the exact time, date, way that you were going to die, I mean, if you could know, would you want to know? Or would you rather continue to live? Would it change anything?
I think it would change everything.
Mm-hmm.
I,
Would
I,
you want to
I
know?
don't
If you had the choice, would you want to know it?
know.
Okay.
I, I, I don't think I would because, like I said, I think it would change everything.
Mm-hmm.
And and have you come across somebody who said that no, it won't. I'll just continue to live my life as if, you know.
Yeah.
I can tell you now, I'll go if I know that that expiry date is in 2 weeks anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to eat all the freaking ice cream that I can. I'm going to drink all the beer that I can.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Spend
smoke
spend
all the
all of your
cigarettes that I
savings.
can. So, so yeah, whatever it is that, am I going to take that trip to whatever, etc., etc. I don't know. I suppose that all depends on how much time you have.
Yeah.
But I can't think that, people say, "Oh, I'm so content with my life and with whatever that nothing will change."
Mm-hmm.
It would be interesting to chat to people who have been sentenced to death.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to think who are people that know?
Yeah. But it's a different case because how much of a life do they have anyway, or how much opportunity for a
Correct,
life do they have if they're locked
correct.
up and just waiting?
No,
Yeah.
but they at least would have considered or given more thought to this thing to say,
Yeah.
shit, if I wasn't here and if I knew but my life was, I don't know. I honestly just can't think that I would not do anything differently.
Yeah. I suppose
Hmm.
maybe a better there's the people who are given terminal illnesses and are said you've got 3 months left or something like that.
That's a more or less. That's
Yeah,
a
it's
guess.
always,
That's
and you hear
different
of
to
people living for 10 years longer than they were told they
mm,
would live for, or so I
yeah.
suppose you can't suddenly spend all your savings.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Because I think that hope is eternal. Hope
Mm-hmm.
springs eternal. What is the saying? So if they say to you that you've only got X, you won't go absolutely crazy. I don't know. Maybe there are people that do that. Do you think it would change how you live your life if you knew exactly what date and time?
Yeah, probably would.
Control freak like you would probably plan out your funeral and
Yeah, which songs I
order
want,
the.
which people I'd like there, who I don't want there.
uh, yeah,
Don't let these people take advantage of my death. They weren't good friends to begin with.
there we go. There we go. No, no, but on a serious note,
Yeah.
would you live
Well,
differently?
yeah, I probably would. I probably would scrape together all my savings and see what I could do in the time left with that money.
Hmm. So, so what is the lesson to take from that? Is that one should live with more intent.
Yeah. And that's probably one of these questions. That probably has been a shift for me over the last maybe 5 years. Um, is not just preparing for the future, but also enjoying the now. Because I
Hmm.
am a little bit of a planner when it comes to my future and wanting to make sure everything's set up okay for then. But to the point where I wasn't necessarily doing any of the things I wanted to do now. So
Hmm.
now I think I've got a bit more of a balance there. Maybe I've shifted a bit too much the other way, and I need to maintain the balance of making sure I'm okay in the future, but also having fun and doing things now.
Correct. I think that that's a very valid point that you make there. Is maybe you should um, revisit what your planning look like,
Yeah,
or because the future is not constant.
yeah,
Okay, the future is forever changing. Okay, the future is whatever kind of we make of it individually and collectively.
yeah,
Okay, um, and whatever you thought the plan was 10 years ago, surely that plan must be updated
yeah,
and kind of rebalance. Like you say, okay, cool, maybe I was a little bit too conservative, and then I was maybe a little bit too liberal. How do I find what does that balance look like? Um, or has the the facts changed so much that I've got to kind of come up with a new plan?
yeah, yeah,
But I think the idea, the concept of that living with intent is I don't know. I've heard of people kind of picking one thing per year, one big thing per year that they're going to do
mm-hmm.
or want to do. Um, or should we do something more than just one event a
Yeah.
year?
I think that there you risk living for these individual moments rather than finding kind of joy in the mundane and in the everyday, which is what life is really. Because I had someone also telling me, someone in my life recently saying like, I've had such good experiences and like pointing out things that they've done that are exciting, going overseas to this place or doing that. And I said, those are all cool things, but like, what do you do every day that you're happy about or that you
Yes,
enjoy? Or because, yeah, can't always just be living for the next big thing.
correct. So I think maybe what I must clarify in terms of what I'm thinking about is that that to me is not just planning a trip to
Yeah.
a country or city that you've never been to. It is more of an event or a something that will, I mean, you have to really work at it other than just saving money.
Yeah.
Okay, so which then actually forces you to focus every single day on preparing
Yeah.
or making sure that you are in the, I don't know,
So,
correct physical health or whatever for whatever
yeah.
that
So an
event is.
example is like saying I'm going to run a 10K in the next year or
Correct,
something like that. Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Climb a mountain or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't, yeah. Okay.
Do you want to pick a question?
Um, what life arenas require wisdom you still seek to cultivate through inner work and mentorship?
What does that even mean? What's a life arena?
A life arena. Yeah, that is a little bit of a vague one. So, for me, the short answer, and maybe it's a cop out answer, but it is everything. And I hope I don't ever get to that point where I feel like, okay, you know what, I've got this waxed. I don't have to, I don't have to accumulate any more wisdom. I've got it all now in whichever arena of life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the same with mentorship. Um, to continue to seek out mentorship. And sometimes these mentors show up in strange and different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So a mentor can be a 5-year-old kid, you know. If the lesson that you're supposed to learn from the mentor is how to, I don't know, enjoy every moment of the day or etc.
Stop
etc.
and smell the
And
roses.
yeah, and just
Yeah.
have that absolute kind of born-in curiosity, etc., etc., that 5-year-olds or 4-year-olds or 3-year-olds or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my answer to that is all of the
Everything.
above, everything. So here's an interesting one for you. Um, how has advising others through their trials nurtured empathy, patience, and compassion in you?
I think we touched on this in a previous section, kind of how we talk to our friends and help them through their trials. Uh, it's not always the same way we talk to ourselves. We're often a lot more negative with ourselves. So I think maybe having that, I don't know, that perspective when you're looking at someone else's problem and then being able to relate to a similar problem you might be having, and being just kinder to yourself. I can't think of a specific example, so I feel like I'm talking a little bit in riddles.
Okay, no, I think it's a very valid point in terms
Yeah.
of you sometimes um, help or guide or support
Yeah.
somebody else through a situation that hasn't really come up necessarily in your own life, or that you haven't looked at from that particular perspective.
Yeah.
And that definitely helps. Um,
I think it also happens both ways though, because I can think of experiences I've had where maybe I've felt quite judgmental of myself, or why did I do something that way, and maybe other people have judged me for it, and then I've gotten through that situation and overcome it, and then I'll be with a friend who's in a similar situation and I'll have a lot less judgment because I've been through it, I've seen what it's like, and
yes.
I'm able to advise someone from a much less judgy point of view.
Okay.
Maybe it works both ways.
I think it can definitely work both
Yeah.
ways. Definitely. Okay. Oh my goodness.
Are you looking at
The perfect
777?
the perfect number is the
Triple
perfect
seven.
number is that the perfect question? What blind spots has honest reflection and feedback from loved ones revealed for you to work on? So first of all, I wonder, do we get enough of this
I was just
honest
thinking that.
reflection and feedback from loved ones?
No, I was just thinking that.
No. So I agree 100%. We don't get enough of that. Um, you know, we've discussed this before, the Sam Harris lying
Lying.
or not lying, the concept of not lying or being honest, and how difficult it is when we know, even when we know that that is the right thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I can definitely think of a number of examples where that got me in trouble for being honest.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not being mean, but just being brutally honest. Um, so my, I don't have, I don't have an answer to the question. I,
I
I would have appreciated if I got from a very young age a hell of a lot more honest reflection and feedback.
So you did an exercise with Entrepreneurs Organization some years ago where you had to ask people for honest feedback, and I know because I was one of the people
Yes,
that you asked. So I know that I tried to give as honest feedback as I could at the time, and I'm assuming the
a
other people
hundred
you asked
percent.
did. So I'm just curious if that was a worthwhile exercise and something that maybe we should be doing more often, is actually asking people to give
Correct,
us some feedback.
correct. Yes, that was you. I'm glad you remembered that because that was a really good exercise. And the what made it easier to give the feedback was that it wasn't in person.
Yeah,
Okay, it was
a document.
a number of questions,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I think it made it easier. So there's a couple of things. First of all, it was initiated. I had to ask a number of people, please complete this and please be as honest as possible,
Mm-hmm.
or please be completely honest. And um, I think the idea was is to pick people. I can't remember how many people in total, um, but I think the idea was obviously to pick people that you think you can count on to be honest
Mm-hmm.
and give you that feedback. So yeah, that was a very good, and there were definitely some really good learnings from that in terms of, listen, here are areas in which you have to focus on.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter at what stage of your life you kind of get that feel. There's always going to be some blind spots that need working on.
I wonder if you can find that worksheet, Herman. And I can think of a few people I could send it out to. Because
I was actually
I would love some
I would look
feedback.
for it.
Yeah, I would love some feedback about where I could improve. But I think I would be quite scared also to ask people because it's hard to hold that mirror up and
Yeah, that's why if it's curated, if you pick
yeah,
the right people, kind of start there. I think that there's a number of factors that must be included. Um, so I would make sure that before anybody kind of engage in something like that, that they at least have a relatively good grasp of who they are.
yeah,
So I would maybe start with I don't know, the understand yourself,
yeah.
because that reveals quite a lot in itself. So how would we describe for people not knowing what understand yourself is?
A personality test. Yeah, five
It's a personality
personalities.
test. So there's five major traits that this focuses on. Um, so anyway, don't you think that it would it would help a lot if you understand yourself from that perspective
Mm-hmm.
and then send out some questions about tell me where I've been an asshole kind of thing. If somebody then comes back and says, no, 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 you're way too direct or whatever, well, you know what? It's not necessarily, in my case, it's not necessarily, something that's going to, um, um, that that I would work too hard on,
Yeah.
okay? Because that is part of my personality. Is anyway, I will look for I will look for the worksheet and share it if I find it.
Geez, who wrote this question? Sorry, I've just jumped to the last one. How has disillusionment cultivated nuance rather than simply negating your previous single minded zeal?
Oh my
I don't have a
goodness.
clue what that means. How has disillusionment cultivated nuance rather than simply.
So so I think that my kind of habit of looking at things and thinking about it, my I've been thinking kind of is very much around centered around disillusionment.
Mm-hmm.
So something that I'm really trying to focus on is finding more positive things to do my thinking about. Because if I look at what I write about, 9 out of 10 times it's about, you know,
Politics.
yeah, politics. Um, but it's not like I'm a negative person.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like I'm a you know that I'm not
Woe
positive
is
about
me.
the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but it definitely is. I think because of that disillusionment, and it helps me to find the. It doesn't come across in my writing because I want people to do their own thinking, but
Mm-hmm.
it helps me to find the positive. Eventually, it may not immediately lead to that, but eventually it kind of gets me to the positive, where I can focus my energy and my attention, etc.,
Yeah.
rather than just sitting here with my hand in my hair and go, we're fucked.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody wants to live like that. So I obviously did not have single-minded zeal in anything, but I hope that that answers the question.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I also think like having these conversations is helpful to me getting a different perspective. You obviously read a lot and hear a lot and are involved in what's going on in the world, and so that helps me to broaden my mind. Um, yeah, I talk to people, a lot of people, about a lot of things, and I try to listen to their perspectives. Um,
Do you find do you find that most people that you talk to
mm-hmm.
about events um, have not really thought about it and just regurgitate
Mm-hmm.
the latest thing that they heard on television or social media?
Yes.
And that is their opinion, and they
Yeah.
state it as if it's fact.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people that I know, acquaintances, that have picked a person whose views they agree with. Let's say Joe Rogan, Russell
Hmm.
Brand, I don't know,
Yes,
whoever. And anything that person says is
is
Bible
true.
truth. Yeah.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter if they're talking about something completely different to what they normally talk about. If they've posted something, then that must be true
Mm.
because I believe the other 80% of what this person says. So everything they say must be true.
Mm.
Um, so I found that with a lot of people that I engage with, that they are very quick to just focus on one person's opinion on something because they respect that one person. Where I respect Joe Rogan in a lot of ways, I follow a lot of what he says, but that doesn't mean that I think everything he says is true and accurate.
Yeah. And I think the ones that are really good will tell you this is my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
but go check for yourself.
Yeah.
Whereas some of the mainstream media, and that again doesn't matter which country and which mainstream media look at, there's just a very narrow view. And then you come across people that tell you, but um, I don't know, climate change is real. Um, we, uh,
Yeah.
I heard it on the news or I read it in the paper.
Yeah. I also
I'm
think,
not prepared to look any further or any deeper into the
yeah.
subject. I just picked one.
Yeah. I also think
But by the way, it isn't real. Just so we're clear on that.
people are so nervous about, and we've spoken about it before, being cancelled or being told that you're racist or being told that you're
Yes.
sexist or being told that you're a climate change whatever
Denier. Yes.
denialist, or you're so scared of being labeled something that you just kind of go with the flow and go like, okay, if everyone else is saying it, it must be true, and I don't want to be the one person who is a racist or a climate change denialist or whatever. So, um, and you see it in politics. I don't want to go into
Yeah.
it now because we'll be talking for the next hour, but like there's the new the hate crime
Yes.
law in Scotland, and
I was just going to refer to that.
yeah,
So, so I think it's a good thing that we're kind of reaching these levels of absurdity because we have to go there in order for us to. So it's kind of like the thing about the pendulum, it
mm-hmm,
swings too far this way and then it
mm-hmm,
comes back, and we can find some kind of. But I think like specifically this law, the absurdity of it, and just the contradiction in terms of the person um, proposing this law and the um, you know we we have to get to that level, and unfortunately it's going to mean that some individuals, their lives will be made miserable
mm-hmm.
for a period of time so that the rest of us can kind of go, okay, cool, thank heavens we've learned a lesson that was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah,
um, and it just feels like there's more and more, and there's this level of absurdity, whether it's that law, whether it is some of the other laws, etc., etc. I don't know if you saw that last week. The European Union announced um, more definitive plans around the CBDC, the central bank
So
digital currency.
I missed that.
Um, yeah, so you can go and check. I mean, that is something that the conspiracy theorists have been saying for a while now. Watch out for that. And now we're at a point where, you know what, yes, this we can control via that mechanism, and yes, that is part of it, and so on. So it it feels to me like we are ready and we're ripe for the the turmoil that that we have to go through to get to a point where there's more sanity and stability.
Bring it on. But leave me on the sidelines. Don't let me be involved.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's definitely true. You know, I think the one question that is, so what is the one thing that you will, you know, what is that one hill that you are prepared to die on? And I don't know. Nobody really wants to. I don't know. Very few people, and I admire people who can. Um, I'm not talking about the keyboard warriors,
Do you mean like
you know,
J.K. Rowling?
like J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
I admire that, and it's
Yeah.
obviously true that it is a little bit easier if you have that level of. It's not the
Celebrity.
money.
Mm.
It's just that you know what. There are enough people taking you seriously
Mm-hmm.
that you don't have to start where, for example, you or I would have to start if we
Mm-hmm.
had the same argument. People
Yeah.
will just cancel you, and that's it. But I
People
do admire
try
people
to
like that,
cancel
yeah.
J.K. Rowling on a regular
Yeah.
basis, and now she's probably going to get arrested when she comes back to Scotland.
Well, we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Anyway, that's an interesting note to end it on.
Fascinating.
Thank you, Herman. And next week, I don't know, we'll decide which questions we're going to hop to next.
Yeah,
Cool. Thank
excellent.
you.
I've got a few points that I've been thinking about that instead of doing some questions, we may discuss one or two of those.
Sounds good. Cool.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.